You open your phone because you're bored. You swipe because the last video was not interesting enough. Then the next one loses you, and the next one. 10 minutes later, you have seen dozens of faces, jokes, arguments, recipes, disasters, and tiny pieces of other people's lives. But somehow, you are not less bored. You are more restless than when you started. That is the trap. The obvious explanation is that the content was not good enough. So the mind keeps searching for the clip that will finally hit. One better joke, one more surprising fact, one video worth staying for. But researchers found something more uncomfortable. The search itself can make the experience worse. Switching between videos or jumping around inside them may increase boredom instead of relieving it. Which raises a strange question. Why does having more entertainment, more choice, and more control make it harder to enjoy what is already in front of us? The first clue is hidden in the way boredom works. Boredom is not simply the absence of stimulation. It is the uncomfortable feeling of wanting to engage, but failing to find the current experience satisfying. That distinction matters. A quiet room is not automatically boring. A slow film is not automatically boring. Even a difficult book is not automatically boring. Boredom appears when there is a gap between the engagement we have and the engagement we think we should be having. And the modern feed is extremely good at widening that gap. In 2024, researchers Katie Tam and Michael Inslicht published a series of 7 experiments involving 1,223 participants. 6 of those experiments were pre-registered. First, they found that boredom encouraged people to switch. That makes intuitive sense. When something feels dull, we look for something better. Participants also expected switching to help, but when people actually switched between videos or skipped forward and backward within a video, they reported more boredom, not less. They also reported lower satisfaction, less attention, and less meaning. Even when participants could choose videos that interested them on YouTube, switching still intensified boredom. The effect was not equally clear in every situation. Results involving online articles and broader non-university samples were less conclusive. So this is not proof that every swipe, every platform, or every kind of digital media damages attention. It is evidence of a more precise problem. When we consume video by repeatedly searching for a better moment, we can destroy the immersion that makes any moment enjoyable. Think about listening to a song while someone skips to a different track every 20 seconds. Each track may be excellent, but excellence is not enough. Music needs time to create anticipation, rhythm, contrast, and release. Remove the sequence, and you do not get more music. You get fragments. The same thing happens with stories, conversations, games, learning, and even rest. Enjoyment often has an entry cost. A story needs time to establish a world. A conversation needs time to move beyond politeness. A task needs time before concentration becomes stable. A walk may need 10 quiet minutes before the mind stops demanding input. The feed offers a way to avoid paying that entry cost. The instant engagement drops, another option appears, and another, and another. This creates the first part of the trap. Fractured attention. Every switch resets the relationship between the viewer and the thing being viewed. New subject, new voice, new emotional tone, new context. The mind must repeatedly answer, what is this? Why does it matter? Should I stay? That feels active, but activity is not the same as engagement. The viewer is making constant decisions without becoming deeply involved in any one experience. Attention is occupied, yet never settled. The feed is full, but the experience feels empty. Then comes the second part of the trap, option inflation. The current video is not competing only with boredom. It is competing with every unseen possibility below it. Maybe the next clip is funnier. Maybe the next person is more attractive. Maybe the next explanation is faster. Maybe the next story reaches the point immediately. The value of the current experience begins to shrink beside the imagined value of everything else. Opportunity cost is the value of what we give up when we choose one option over another. On an endless feed, those alternatives never disappear. They sit one movement away, glowing with potential. The current clip has limitations. The next clip has none, because it has not disappointed us yet. So the mind compares reality with possibility. Reality usually loses. This is why the swipe can feel promising even after the last 20 swipes failed. Each new piece of content arrives without history. For one brief second, it could be exactly what we wanted. Then it becomes familiar. The promise collapses, and the thumb moves again. Now the third part of the trap appears, broken meaning. Meaning depends partly on connection. A beginning relates to an ending. One idea changes how we understand the next. Details accumulate into a larger pattern. But a feed can place a war report beside a prank, a medical warning beside a dance, and a stranger's tragedy beside an advertisement. Each item may trigger emotion. Together, they may form nothing coherent. The result is a strange kind of consumption. High stimulation, low integration. A person can feel shocked, amused, angry, curious, and jealous within 2 minutes, yet be unable to explain what the experience meant. The screen becomes more vivid, while the viewer becomes more numb. Not because every piece of content is meaningless, but because meaning struggles to survive constant interruption. Researchers have proposed several possible pathways through which digital media may intensify boredom, including divided attention, elevated expectations for stimulation, reduced meaning, higher perceived opportunity costs, and ineffective attempts to escape boredom. Some of these pathways remain theoretical and require more direct testing, but together they reveal why more available stimulation does not automatically create greater satisfaction. This helps explain why the problem is so difficult to notice. Scrolling does not feel like doing nothing. It feels like searching. There is always a micro goal. Find something interesting. Learn one more thing. Check what happened. See what comes next. And because genuinely funny, useful, or moving clips sometimes appear, the next swipe remains believable. But the real question is not whether good content exists. It is whether the mode of consumption allows good content to become a good experience. That is the uncomfortable turning point. The problem may not be that nothing is interesting anymore. The problem may be that interest is being interrupted before it has time to deepen. This changes the solution completely. The usual response is dramatic. Delete every app, buy a basic phone, begin a dopamine detox, or treat technology as the enemy. But the research does not justify a universal claim that all digital media use is harmful. Nor is boredom proof that the brain is permanently broken. The more useful distinction is not screen versus no screen. It is intentional consumption versus continuous selection. One begins with a choice. The other never stops choosing. Research on YouTube design offers a useful clue. In a survey of 120 users in the United States, autoplay and recommendations tended to undermine people's sense of agency, while search and playlists tended to support it. The study was limited in size and does not prove that one interface determines everyone's behavior, but the pattern is revealing. Tools that help people carry out a specific intention feel different from tools that continuously suggest a new intention. Search begins with a question. A playlist creates a boundary. Autoplay removes a stopping point. Recommendations keep the possibility of something better visible. The platform may be the same. The mental position is not. So the way out of the boredom trap is not to demand perfect discipline. It is to redesign the moment before the swipe. A simple framework can help. Choose, close, and continue. Choose means deciding what the session is for before opening the feed. Not forever, just for this session. One video, one topic, one episode, one specific question. This converts the phone from a machine of possibilities into a tool with a job. Close means removing the visible alternatives while consuming the chosen thing. Full screen. Autoplay off. Recommendations out of sight when possible. Notifications silenced. No second app waiting beside the first. The point is not purity. It is to let the selected experience compete on its own terms rather than against an infinite menu. Continue means staying through the first drop in stimulation. That moment is crucial. The first impulse to leave does not always mean the content is bad. Sometimes it is simply the transition from novelty to attention. The mind has become used to immediate replacement, so remaining can initially feel like deprivation. Give the experience a fair interval before judging it. 10 minutes is enough for a useful personal experiment. Choose one video, article, chapter, conversation, or walk. Remove the option to switch for 10 minutes. Then notice 3 things: satisfaction, attention, and the urge to escape. Do not try to win a battle against the phone. Observe the mechanism. The urge will probably arrive as a reasonable thought. This is too slow. I should check something. There may be a better explanation. I will come back later. That thought is the trap speaking in a professional voice. It rarely says, abandon this meaningful experience and fragment your attention. It says, optimize. But endless optimization makes immersion impossible. Of course, staying is not always wise. Some videos are bad. Some conversations are pointless. Some tasks should be abandoned. Intentional consumption does not mean forcing attention onto everything. It means making the decision based on value, not reflex. There is a difference between leaving because something is not worth your time and leaving because your mind has learned to demand novelty every few seconds. That difference becomes easier to feel when the alternatives are temporarily hidden, and something unexpected may happen. The boredom may peak, then soften. The story may become clearer. The music may open up. The walk may stop feeling empty. The conversation may move somewhere real. Not because the world suddenly became more stimulating, but because attention finally remained long enough for meaning to accumulate. This is the part an endless feed cannot advertise. Deep enjoyment often looks boring from the outside. A person reading is barely moving. A person thinking may appear to be doing nothing. A person listening closely is not producing visible activity, but internally, connections are forming. Anticipation is building. The experience is becoming richer precisely because it is not being replaced. Boredom also has information in it. Sometimes it signals that the current activity lacks challenge, purpose, or meaning. If every uncomfortable pause is covered with a feed, that signal never gets interpreted. The phone removes the feeling for a moment, but it may also prevent the larger adjustment the feeling was asking for. Maybe the day needs a better goal. Maybe the work needs a clearer challenge. Maybe the evening needs contact, movement, creation, or real rest rather than more input. A swipe can postpone that question indefinitely. And that is why the boredom trap is larger than wasted time. The feed does not merely fill empty moments. It can train a habit of evaluating every moment against an invisible alternative. The meal competes with the phone. The film competes with the feed. The friend competes with the notification. The present competes with everything that might happen next. No ordinary moment can win that comparison for long. But the comparison is not mandatory. When we choose before opening, close the alternatives, and continue beyond the first urge to switch, the relationship changes. The device stops deciding what the next moment should be. Attention becomes less reactive. Boredom becomes a signal rather than an emergency. The goal is not to make every moment exciting. It is to stop requiring every moment to audition for our attention. You scroll because you are bored. The next swipe promises relief. Sometimes it even delivers a brief spark. But if the search keeps interrupting the experience, the spark never becomes satisfaction. That is the trap. The feed does not need to become less interesting. It only needs to keep convincing you that the next thing will be better than the thing you chose. And the way out begins with one small refusal. Not the refusal to use technology. The refusal to abandon the present before it has had a chance to become meaningful.